Alright y'all, welcome back to another Chud Life Extreme video. And today we're going to be talking about how weed ruined my life. More about how it's a myth. And weed actually can't ruin your life unless you're a really specific type of person. Really the only person that weed can ruin the life of is like somebody with underlying schizophrenia that the weed high somehow brought to the surface. Other than that, you're just a lazy fucking bum, and you're out here complaining that you can't handle a joint. You're really just a pussy, I'm not gonna lie. You're just really a purebred, through and through pussy, man. You can't handle a gram of weed. When you smoke it, you start thinking about random shit and killing yourself or something. You gotta go to the mental hospital over a weed. Guys, do you guys know that weed, you can't overdose on weed, and there's zero historical deaths from weed? That's why it's legal now in America in most places. Guys, weed is such a low tier drug that it's almost not even considered a drug. It's almost on like the same level as caffeine. Alcohol is going to ruin your life 100 million times worse than if you were gonna smoke a joint a day. And I'm sick of seeing people on the internet saying that weed ruined their life. Nicotine ruined my life. Guys, you ruined your life. Nicotine can't ruin your fucking life, and neither can weed, unless you are so weak in the brain that you can't handle a couple puffs off a geek bar and a couple puffs off of a joint or a bong without crying, asking and begging for your mommy to come pick you up. And guys, that is not to say that you can't be paranoid off of weed. You can definitely, especially if you're younger. I remember when I was younger, around 14, 13, 15, you can definitely get paranoid off of weed, especially if you have a young brain. But I should not be hearing on the internet what sounds to be a 20-year-old plus man talking about how weed made him lazy, paranoid, and like borderline schizophrenic if you don't have that actual problem in your brain of schizophrenia. That's not true. That's not even possible. If it made you paranoid, that's one thing, and I'm not saying that grown men can't get paranoid either off of weed. You can also get paranoid when you're older, but you're supposed to be able to handle that a little bit more, as you know, at least more than if you were a child. So yeah, if you willingly end up in a mental hospital over weed, too much weed, there's something seriously wrong with you, and it's not the weed. You ruined your life, buddy. You are the one willingly showing up to a mental hospital over an overdose that actually cannot happen. That's actually impossible. All the doctors are in there looking at you, talking to you, asking you, are you sure you're even supposed to be here? Why are you here? What are you doing here? You're here because you're 24 and you couldn't handle your weed high. It made you feel like you were paranoid or something. You couldn't handle that. Guys, if you showed up to a mental hospital over a caffeine overdose or a nicotine overdose, the only thing they're going to diagnose you with is autism. And I feel like the same should be for marijuana usage. If a marijuana user shows up to an asylum, like something is actually wrong with them, they need to be diagnosed with Schedule 1 autism, and not whatever bullshit they had to make up to comfort these little baby boys out here and girls who can't handle smoking their fucking dispensary cart. Now there's probably going to be somebody in these comments who's going to say, well, what if you were laced and you weren't smoking weed? Well, then that's a different fucking story, bud. And I'm not talking about you. If you were laced with fucking K2 in your weed bag that your fucking unreliable plug just handed to you, that's different. When you start seeing shit and you start nodding out off of weed, that's different. That's not weed. You're smoking meth and crack. So yeah, you are a different breed. And honestly, you need to just find better sources probably. I don't know why you're copying weed off of a crackhead on the street, but that's not where you're supposed to go to get some weed. So yeah, in every scenario brought up so far, it is you that's ruining your life. It's not the weed. If you are copying weed off of a crackhead and you expect it to be good shit, you ruined your life. If you can't handle smoking weed the same way you can't handle drinking a cup of coffee, you ruined your life. Not the weed, not the caffeine, not the nicotine. You did it. You chose to pick that shit up, smoke it, and then you chose to be weak enough to not be able to handle yourself and have to go to the fucking doctor and cry about it until it wore off. Because you're a little baby chudling. You're the ugliest little chudling, and you couldn't handle it, and you want to ruin it for everybody else. So now you got other people looking at it like, oh, I don't know if I can smoke weed, and weed makes everyone lazy and paranoid and weird. And no, it really just made that guy weird and paranoid and fucking slow and lazy. And he hasn't done shit in 15 years because he keeps hitting his bong and trying to justify himself being a fucking couch potato.
Yeah, dude, it must be the weed. That's the reason why I have been unemployed for 10 years. That's the reason why I can't get off the couch. That's the reason why I keep watching reruns of movies. That's the reason why I'm unhireable and I couldn't finish school either.
So you tell me, does that sound like that guy was given a mental disability from weed, or does it sound like he was born with it? Because to me it just sounds like a fat lazy chud who is trying to comfort himself with the fact that weed is the one that's ruining his life and not actually his own decisions. You could put the fucking bong down whenever you want to, champ, and you can go pick up a job application whenever you please. There's nobody holding you back. The weed is not holding you back. The weed is not packing itself into that bong. The weed is not rolling itself up into that swisher. You are doing it. You are lighting it. You are the loser that is being enhanced by weed. Weed can make you lazy. Weed doesn't make everyone lazy. Weed is not a fucking hold back. It's not gonna hold you back from shit unless you are weak enough to allow it to, and to constantly tell everybody that that's the reason why.
I gotta quit. I gotta quit. I gotta quit weed. Weed changed my life. Weed ruined my life.
You couldn't handle it. You can't handle day-to-day tasks and responsibilities while being high off of a gram of weed. That is the mindset of a little girl. Only girls are allowed to go through this, guys. If you're a grown man, you're not allowed to go through this. That's something that is not feasible, and I don't want to hear it from any other grown man again, that weed ruined their life. Weed was the reason that they haven't accomplished shit. Weed was the reason that they've been a couch potato. Weed was the reason that they have weird episodes of being fucking lazy. Because that's not justifiable, and that's not even true, and that's not even possible. It's not physically dependent. You can be mentally addicted to weed. It's not physically dependent, and you can't be mentally dependent on it. You fucking idiot. You're just being lazy, and you're trying to find different ways out of being lazy and how to justify your laziness. but there's really no way. So yeah, that's going to be the end of this video. Thank you for watching. Hit the like, subscribe, turn on the bell, and leave a comment of what you think. Alright, y'all. Peace.